Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast. I'm your host, Karen Yankovich, and today we have an interesting episode. We're living in a world right now where things have changed, like post-COVID. People don't want to go back to the job they used to be in. Companies are making changes. Maybe you've been laid off. Maybe there's been a restructuring that doesn't make you happy, and you just know your next chapter needs to look different than this chapter. Or shall we just go along the Taylor Swift lines and say your next era, right, is going to look different than the era you're living right now? And, it's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to think about. So, sometimes we can refer to this as like a forced pause. And I'm sure there's people that are saying, if you're somebody that hasn't been given a choice in this, oh, well, it's leaving space for something better, all that stuff. And, I believe all that stuff too, but it also, I'm guessing maybe makes you want to smack some of these people a little bit, right? Because it is a scary thing to take that step. I did it by choice, but I'm going to say this. I did it by choice, but I didn't really have a choice. I couldn't stay where I was. So, it's a long time ago now, but it was hard and it was scary, and I didn't have a net, and I certainly didn't have a financial net. I feel like it definitely was for me the launch pad for freedom money, not just mortgage money, and a life that's designed around the things I need to do. And, this past year, you might've heard me talk about this. It's been crazy in my life. Listen, I this is why I did what I did, right? I wanted to be able to spend more time with my kids and grandkids. I have another grandbaby on the way, which makes 6, which is crazy. But I guess that's what happens when you have 4 kids, right? You end up having a lot of grandkids. So how fun is that? So that's happening in a few more months. And my parents were getting older. We lost my dad at the end of 2024. It completely shifted my mom's life. And this forced pause that I had, even though it was a long time ago, it allowed me to build something that allows me to be where I want to be when I want to be there, which I couldn't have done any of this if I was still at my paycheck job, right? So there's no judgment anywhere. If you're feeling judgment, no, that's not how I intend this. There's no judgment at all. I believe me when I tell you, there have been times in those years that I have fantasized about a paycheck, fantasized about health benefits corporate led health benefits, which is definitely not something I have right now. Right. So that's what we're going to be talking about here, because here's what we do know. Okay. In 2024, more than 56% of women over 50 report rethinking their career path after a layoff or a corporate shakeup. 56% of women, more than half of the women on this planet, right? I don't know. This is a AARP and Business Insider quote. So I shouldn't say, I don't know if it's on the planet, could be in the US, but it's still a big number, right? 56% of women over 50 are rethinking their career path after a layoff or a corporate shakeup. And, this is exactly what I did, right? And it's so many of my clients did. And it's so interesting because over these years, I've gotten a chance to work with so many amazing, incredible, unbelievably incredible women that I am so unbelievably grateful to be able to work with. And I've seen so mmany different things, right? There was one woman who retired or quit her job, and she wanted seat on boards of a board of directors seat. And she got that so quickly that she was like, oh, well, I need to do more content. I'm like, really? Because you just got what you want already, right? So it can happen that quickly. There's another woman I'm thinking of who we started working together and repositioning her. Because a lot of this is about how you're being seen, right? Your identity is tied into your previous world, right? So we're shifting, which is an identity work, right? We're shifting your identity to somebody new. And as we started to shift her identity to somebody new, people where she currently works started noticing and going like, wait a minute. I didn't know this about you. And I didn't know this about you. And ended up giving her these unbelievable promotions that she couldn't turn down and didn't want to turn down. So she thought that she was going to be shifting away from the place that she was at work. Instead, they made her offers that she was so excited to take up on, right? So there's no one right path, because then there's plenty of other women who have left where they were before and stepped into a role as a consultant, as a coach, whatever, right? Whatever it looks like for you. So I've seen it all. I really have. I've seen it all. And what I love about this is that it is fluid, right? We don't have to know going in. We have to kind of know what we want going in, right? We have to kind of know what we want to be doing, but it's okay to change it, right? It's okay to change it. And that's the point here. I'm thinking of another woman now who we worked together, and she got so good at this LinkedIn work that she started doing LinkedIn work for other people's companies and started built a whole business around that, and then now she's doing some other cool stuff. So anyway, we're going to talk today a little bit about a blueprint that's going to help you take back your time, rebuild your income, because that's important. Like money is important, right? And design, we're going to call this a consulting business, but insert whatever it looks like for you, that respects your real life. Okay. That it respects your real life. And I'm going to check in on you on this, right? I'm going to talk about that later on the end. I want to check in on you in this. So I know for me, when I left my job, leaving that paycheck, I'm going to say it's probably also around the same time my youngest was in college and I was divorced. So there was child support money coming as well. And that went away at the same time. So not only did I lose my paycheck, I lost any child support money. So I was like literally no net. Worried about that. Was I too old to do this, right? What if I fail on my own? What if this doesn't work? But here's what I know. Here's what I knew, and I had to continue to remind myself. And if you need a reminder of this, then please use this as my reminder to you. This works, right? You may have some failures, but it works, right? It just because this, like maybe plan A didn't work, there's another 25 letters in the alphabet, right? So this does work. It will work for you. Obviously we want it to work as quickly as possible because we're nervous about it, right? But it's going to work, right? It's going to work because here's the other thing. And I really wanted to dive into some actual statistics for this because I didn't want to just be talking smack here in this episode because it's an important topic. Here's the other statistic. In also AARP and this time Harvard Business Review are reporting that women over 50 are the fastest growing group of new entrepreneurs in America. Women over 50 are the fastest growing group of new entrepreneurs in America. And 68% of women say they wish they designed work-life balance before burnout forced it, right? And I think I can totally relate to that too. I don't live in a place with regrets. I don't. There's certainly things I wish would have been nice if I did differently, but it is what it is. I am where I am. I have a beautiful life and I'm not living with any regrets. That being said, when my kids were little, I was never home. I was not home a lot. And I know that I missed out on some things, right? So would it have been nice if I figured this out sooner? Sure. But here's the thing. When my kids were little, we didn't have the same tools we have now to be an entrepreneur. You have these tools now, right? You have so much, you have the same resources available to you at very little to no charge that, Pepsi does, right? And these big companies have. So know that this layoff, we'll call it a layoff, or maybe it's by choice. Maybe you're just not ready. You just can't do another day there, which is who I was, right? It can be a detour or it could be a moment that you design. Okay. It could be a moment that you design. So sometimes maybe you're getting some severance. Maybe you've built up a little nest egg, right? You can build an offer, which is my sweet spot. I love having these conversations with you that is aligned with who you are and where your zone of genius is and brings you in a big paycheck. As I'm recording this, I just had a conversation with one of my private clients who, for the first time in her life, is an inch away from landing a $25K client. And it's probably, I think the biggest she's ever gotten was maybe $5K. So the point is, it was reframing it. Those clients were always there, but other people were getting them, right? So I want you, so she took this moment, she got laid off, she took this moment and she's like, I've got this, I think she has some unemployment money. I've got this much time to make this happen. Right. So we just hustled. And instead of focusing, and trust me when I tell you, I'm still refocusing her often, stop talking to me about a $50 thing. I know these $50 things could be valuable right now, but Focus on where the money is, and it's there for you. Because if you're listening to the show, you are likely not somebody that just graduated college. You're probably somebody that has been doing this work for a while. You deserve big, fat, juicy paychecks. Those 25K and 50K and 100K offers are out there. Somebody's getting them. Might as well be you, right? So this is where we start to design this moment for you. Okay. And the first thing you need to do, and this is really important, is map out your non-negotiables. Okay. Map out your non-negotiables. What are non-negotiables for you? And, in our She's Linked Up program, we have a marketing planning training that we do at the Q4 every year. And we do it live every year. And then it's available to anybody that joins the program throughout the year as a replay. And one of the first things we do is map out our non-negotiables. What do you want your life to look like? We can't build your business until we know what you want your life to look like, right? Do you want to have every month see the ocean, right? Do you want to have Fridays off every year? Do you want to have December off, right? What are your non-negotiables? You get to choose this, because guess what? You might find me working on a Saturday morning sometimes. Certainly if it's like a rainy, crummy day, I might work on a Saturday because I might have taken Tuesday off. I'm trying to think. This week I had 2 days. Well, no, last week, because I'm recording this, it's early in the week. So last week I had, I spent 2 days with one of my kids and grandkids, and then I spent another day with another one. And then this week I'm actually going on vacation with my family. And this is all stuff I get to do. Like, I work around that stuff, right? So the first thing you need to do is map your non-negotiables and start with a blank calendar, block your personal priorities first, build your client time around that. Okay. And think about this. I am absolutely the anti-hustle. Okay. I'm all about this feeling like there's ease and building freedom into it. It doesn't mean there's never hustle, right? But think about, like, maybe even building into your calendar some rituals. Maybe when, if you want Fridays off, one of the things that's going to be non-negotiable, it's going to be Friday's going to be a pedicure day or a massage day, or the first Friday of every month is going to be a massage day, or whatever works for you. Like, build in some tiny rituals that would feel luxurious if you never had to compromise on that again. Well, isn't that cool? I mean, doesn't that sound amazing? Because this is what you're building. Like, this is what you're building, right? I promise you, this is what you're building. How cool is this? Can you tell I get excited by this? All right. So once you've done that, once you've done the laying out of what you want your life to look like, right? Then you have to start thinking about your income streams, and you do not need 100 income streams. And here's the other thing. You need to be thinking about, like, shift your mindset from reactive hustling to purposeful consulting or relationship marketing. Okay. Like, the work that you're doing is going to be purposeful. I often say, like, if you want to make pens and you make the best pen in the world, we are not going to hustle to send one pen at a time. We're going to purposefully put together a strategy to find you a distributor that wants to buy 100,000 of your pens, because I don't want you hustling to sell one pen at a time, right? So you need to shift your mindset from that. And I can tell you that one of the biggest mindset blocks and identity blocks that my clients often have is that, well, I've never been a consultant before. I never signed Karen Yankovich -consultant to a contract before. So I can't charge that much money, right? But you can, because you've been doing this work all this time, right? So there's 3 kind of pillars to this. Okay. So pillar 1 is you need to have a signature offer. And by the way, I have one signature offer, my She's Linked Up program. You can do that. We could do that in a day. Like, we have Linked Up in a day if you don't want to take the 12-week program. Really, it just comes down to how quickly you want it to happen and what your budget is, right? I don't have 100,000 different offers. I have one offer, and there's different levels of it. Okay. You can do the same thing. And I did that deliberately because my strength is strategy, not creating 5 million sales pages to create a $20 offer to try to sell it to 1 million people. It's just not what I do best. I would rather create one offer that showcases my best skill set and solves a real problem, right? And then build it from there. And then the second pillar in this is thinking about and creating a mindset around relationship-based marketing. If I ask 100 people where they got their biggest client from, 90 of them are going to tell me that it came from a referral. right? They come from warm connections, not cold calls, right? I mean, when you've got cold calls, I get cold calls. Do you give them $10,000 or $25,000? No, right? It comes from this relationship-based marketing. And, 70% of consulting contracts come through these warm connections. So you need to have that built into as you're building out your calendar, right? Building out your week, have a strategy around that, around how much time are you going to spend? And, for me, it's on LinkedIn, building relationships, talking to people. I had a conversation today with somebody I hadn't talked to in a long time. And he was talking about how horrible networking is lately. And I said, I completely agree, because so many people go to so many networking events, but they never actually build relationships. They never actually follow up. And then when I say, well, wait a minute, I want you to be following up with 20 people from LinkedIn every week. They say, well, I don't have time for that. Like, yeah, you don't have time for that because you go to too many networking meetings that you don't follow up from, right? Like, deepen the work you're doing, deepen. And by the way, I don't ever say that I want you to meet 20 people in a week. As those words came out of my mouth, I was like, why am I even saying that? It's totally unnecessary, right? But in any case, deepen the marketing. Don't deeper, not broader. Is going to get you the higher ticket things, which brings me to the third pillar. It is easier to close one $5,000 client than 10 $500 clients. My client that I talked about earlier, that's about to sign a $25K contract. I mean, I'm telling you, she's ready to go out there and hustle the street for $50 this and $100 these and $200 these. And I am constantly pulling her by the back of the neck and going, hang on, money, let's make some, you are worthy of somebody's getting these big fat juicy contracts. Let's let them be you. Because here's the thing, okay? Consultant, and I like the word consultant even better than coach right now. I think that consulting, if you can build what you do into a consulting framework, I think that that's going to serve you well in 2025. Like, if you're listening to this in, 10 years from now, maybe that's not true anymore. But in 2025, I think that's true. But here's the other thing that's true. Women consultants earn 20% less than men on average. And how do we close that gap? We ask for the money that we deserve. That gap starts, that we shrink that gap when we start pricing like the pros that we are. Okay. So I want you to think a little bit about your last role, right? Here's a little mini homework for you. What did that company pay for your expertise per month? That's your consulting baseline, not your ceiling. Because remember, especially if it was a paycheck, you need to build in your loaded labor rate. They're paying your benefits. They're paying payroll taxes, right? That's why consultants make so much more money than employees, right? Now, listen, as a consultant, I can tell you very clearly that $100,000 paycheck is a lot more money in my pocket than $100,000 consulting contract. I need $200,000 consulting contracts to have that same $100,000 in my pocket, which is all good, right? Which is all good because we have overhead. We're business owners. We have overhead, right? But so does the business, right? So if you're making $50 an hour or $100 an hour at your last role, remember that there's probably a 50% loaded labor rate on that, right? So think about that. And if you have any insight into how much they were paying consultants, find that out, right? And let that be your baseline because you have the expertise. You deserve this, okay? But we have to show up confident and worthy of those big, fat, juicy contracts, right? So as we're moving through this, I told you it was going to be a blueprint. So we're going to continue to move through what you do next. You've designed your life. You've got some ideas maybe around a higher ticket offer. And you understand now that you don't have to, go for the low ticket things first. You can go for the higher ticket things. You go straight for the higher ticket things, right? Now let's think about what some flexible client structures might look like. There's retainers, there's projects, there's groups, there's VIP days, right? Clients love clear boundaries and packages, right? So the best part about this, especially for somebody new, a new business owner, or an expanding business owner, or a coach that's looking to take it to the next level, the best part about this is this comes from a conversation you're having, right? So follow me here for a second. You listen to my podcast and you do all the things, and you've had some conversation. You've got some people on your calendar from some LinkedIn strategy that you've done. And this is not spamming them, by the way. This is very warm relationship marketing. Maybe you got a referral, whatever that looks like, and they're on your calendar. And now you're having a conversation with them, and you're like, okay, tell me what you're looking for. Like, what is it that you're looking for? So they're going to tell you what they're looking for, and you, based on that, are going to build them an offer. You are not creating the packages before you speak to the clients. And that, by the way, means and creating 65,000 sales pages and thank you pages and offers and blah, 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 blah. You don't have to do any of that. You're going to just create, you're going to have a conversation. And based on that, you're going to say, okay, well, we can either do this on a retainer as a project level, or, and maybe you can even do both, right? Maybe you can even do, well, I think for $5,000 a month, for a minimum of 6 months, I can do, A, B, C, D, and E. But I also think that I want to come in and talk to your staff, right? I think you have a staff. If I can come in there, maybe do some assessments and blah, blah, blah. So for that, there's a different rate, right? So you can mix and match this. But the best part of this is you don't have to know this before you're going into you're not trying to sell them a pen that already exists. You're looking to sell them a solution that works best for them. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be you doing that, right? Like a lot of times when I work with people privately, I bring in like my PR experts, right? And I'll say, they're going to need your help. I don't write LinkedIn profiles. I have people that write LinkedIn profiles, right? So you don't even have to be doing all the work. Obviously, you want to make sure that there's profit to you as the business owner, as the company, right? Every single thing that you are offering has to feed the goose, right? Right? You got to always feed the goose. And then from there, you go, okay, well, this is how much I need to pay the profile writer. So this is how much I have to charge per profile because I have to feed the goose and I have to pay the taxes and I have to do all the things, right? But you can create this in a flexible way. So you're offering them all this flexibility, which by the way, you're probably going to do the same thing over and over. So you don't have to redesign it every time. They don't have to know that, right? Once you start doing this, you can use the same contracts as you do for other clients and just modify them, right? Make sure you modify them and don't leave the other clients' names in them, and modify them. So as long as you're giving these prospects clear boundaries and packages, you do not have to be on call 24/7. And your business is serving your life, not the other way around, right? How cool is that? How cool is that? So here's the deal. You now have permission to build a consulting business that loves your life as much as you do. Okay. 100%. You have to be using LinkedIn for this. And, if we're working together, we're also sprinkling in some PR because I want you to have the credibility because that credibility helps get to the yes, right? It helps magnetize these opportunities to you. So you're not out hustling for them. And it helps people say yes more quickly because you've got that credibility already built in. So what I want to know from you, first and foremost, I want to know this. Okay. I'm serious about this. I want to know what your non-negotiable yes is. Family dinners, beach days, volunteering, and how will you build your business around this and write it down? And then I want you to post it on your LinkedIn today and I want you to tag me because I want to cheer you on. I want to know before we even start talking about where you're going to make money, I want to know this new era in your life, what is your non-negotiable, juicy, amazing yes that you are never going to have to compromise on ever again? Write it down. Then post it on LinkedIn and tag me because I really want to cheer you on. And if you want my eyes on your consulting plan, book a call. If you go to KarenYankovich.com/call, you get to our calendar. I'd love to chat with you. I want to make sure your freedom plan pays you well. And of course, if I think that I can help you with that, I'll tell you what that looks like. But mostly I want there to be more wealthy women in the world. So this is my gift to you is to offer these complimentary strategy calls. KarenYankovich.com/call gets you to that calendar. Here's the thing. Your next era is not just about income. It's about freedom. It's about legacy. It's about your favorite moments. And this is what I want you to claim. Do we want income? We absolutely freaking do. We want to fill your cup and have it overflowing so you can serve from that overflow, right? But it's the freedom and the legacy and those moments. That's why we're doing this. And that's how we build amazing lives for ourselves. So I hope this was helpful to you. If you think you have an audience of people that might enjoy hearing this or might need to hear this, or you have coworkers maybe that are in the same place as you, I'd love for you to share this with them. If you share it on your social media, please tag me. I'm at Karen Yankovich, so I can see that you're sharing it, and then I can share that with my audience. And this is how we lift each other up. right? You're getting my name in front of your audience. So I am going to repay you by getting your name in front of my audience. So let's do that. If you love this episode, I'd also love your ratings and reviews. That just helps me understand what episodes you're connecting to. In the show notes for this episode, we have a link for SpeakPipe where you can leave me an audio message. I love getting audio messages from you. I do. I respond to every single one of them. We get to have like an actual chat. I feel like I love doing this podcast. I mean, we're on episode like 300 and whatever, right? I love doing this, but I do sometimes feel like I'm talking at you. And when you leave me a message via SpeakPipe, I get to talk with you. And that's my goal. And that's part of that relationship building, right? So I hope this was really helpful to you. I look forward to seeing you tag me on LinkedIn with your non-negotiable yes. And I will see you back here next week with another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast.